Hi, I'm Erin Marcus, former corporate executive turned entrepreneur and founder and CEO of Conquer Your Business. Welcome to the Ready Yet podcast. We're excited to bring you more than 100 episodes of interviews and insights designed to help entrepreneurs get the financial and emotional freedom they need in order to build a business and a life they're proud of. All right, welcome to this episode of the Ready Yet podcast with my guest today, Joe Casabona. We have been having a blast. I love your energy, your approach to all of this. You seem to have the same. I gotta laugh at myself because why else are we doing this?
Yeah.
Right? So I can't wait to get into everything with you about doing less work. That's a great topic. Let's do less work. But before we get in all that, why don't you tell everybody who you are and what you do?
Thank you, Erin, for having me. I've already had a blast with the pre-call and then this, just so much fun. So excited. So I am a nerd, big time nerd.
Cool.
I have my background's in software engineering. I would make money selling mixed CDs in high school. I was like a realistic Zach Morris who was a lot less handsome, but I would just figure out ways to make money in high school. Today, I am.
We made money in high school too, but it wasn't stuff we talk about on recording.
Yeah, right. And I'm a podcast systems coach now, and I've been podcasting for over 10 years. And this allows me to combine my love of leveraging technology with my love of helping podcasters do less work, as you said, right? Or at least spend their time the right way in their podcast. And yeah.
And one of the things that I've been really focusing on lately is this idea of less work. But here's the thing. I never said I don't want to work hard.
Mm.
When I work, there's a big old work ethic. What I want to do is work less frequently.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. And I think that's really important, right? Because it's really easy if you have a 9 to 5 that you hate, it's really easy to clock in at 9 and clock out at 5 and go home and never think about your job again. But I am lucky enough to be self-employed and have a spouse who fully supports that, even though we have 3 small children. And I'm always thinking about work, or I'm thinking about it a lot because I love it. It's
right. When your business is your baby.
Yes.
It's hard to walk away from your baby.
Yeah. And I built a career around solving problems I want to solve, which is really cool. But right, that also means you need to have some guardrails in place so that you're not working 12 hours a day. And having kids makes those guardrails a little bit easier.
Automatic. Right?
Yeah.
But here's the thing about if you love working 15 hours a day and there is no other pull on your time, then absolutely go for it. But I really come from the approach, one, I'm getting older. I don't want to work that. I want to do all the other things. I want to do all the things that I can afford to do because I do this work, right? But at the same time, I think the other thing that happens when work expands to fill the time given. And so when you tell yourself that you're a hard worker and that you have this great work ethic and that you work a lot, the work expands. So truthfully, I think there's probably a negative correlation between how many hours you spend and how effective you are during those hours.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. There's fatigue, right? There's so much science now between understanding the importance of sleep and well resting and even walking away. I'll tell you what, I was trying to figure out this programming problem in college, and I was sitting in front of my computer for hours, spinning my wheels. And my friends Joey, anybody who knew me before 2009 calls me Joey. Joey, why don't there's a coffee house event. This guy's really good. Let's go just watch him. We'll take our mind off of it. Halfway through his set, right. In a movie, I literally wrote the solution down on the back of a napkin or on the front of a napkin.
Your brain can't solve a problem staring at the problem. That's not how it works. Your brain goes, oh, look, a problem. It identifies the problem and it does everything it can to reinforce the fact that it's a problem.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I love that framing, right? Because then you're just it's like how my daughter she's 7. She tries to do something that I know she can do, but because I'm telling her she has to do it, she's like, I can't do this. I'm like, all right, we'll walk away then. And she's like, wait, no. And then she does it. And I'm like, what? Weird. What?
And so
Yeah.
I always laugh that for me, I need almost to get to the point of reduced oxygen to solve problems to burn off the extra energy, the monkey brain
Yeah.
going. So whether I used to go for a run or if I'm going for a walk, I call the process take a walk, take a
Yeah.
walk, take a shower. Right? I go for a walk out in nature and I just spout off on all of the problem and get it out. And then when I'm in the shower, and I could write my own shower thoughts book. I do have a writing pad with a like a
Yeah.
waterproof pencil,
In the
right?
shower. Oh my gosh. I love those things. That's so good.
You're thinking differently.
Yeah. And this is why also like when I was in the WordPress space, in the web development space, this is like it, during my time, which was like early WordPress, we were all self-taught and like super passionate about this project. And I would talk to people and be like, "Oh, so what hobbies do you have?" And they're like, "Oh, I don't have hobbies. I just like work is my hobby." And I'm like, that is maybe the saddest thing a person can say to me without it trying to sound sad. Because you don't think it's sad, but what you're saying is nothing else interests me to the point where I need to do it. And like switching contexts and
Yeah.
trying other things broadens your worldview and makes you better at your job.
And there's also this whole piece where it's in I love the phrasing in the book 10 times is easier than 2 times about this, that a highly tightly scheduled entrepreneur has no room for growth. So this badge of honor of constantly working actually prevents you from leaping forward
Mm-hmm.
because there's no room.
Right.
There's no
Right.
space.
Yeah. And then like it just gives you a very narrow worldview. Like I'm very grateful. Actually, I was out, my wife had taken the kids to a play date and I got the very rare morning cigar. I love a morning cigar because it's
Sounds
like
such like a horrible idea.
I'm like,
You do you.
yeah, I'm approaching middle age. I'm a New York Italian. Like I'm a living
You're
stereotype.
obligated. You're a little genetically obligated.
Yeah,
Morning
exactly. So
cigar. Got
I'm
it.
sipping a cup of coffee and I see our mail carrier or our substitute mail carrier delivering mail. And she takes a different route than our primary mail carrier. And I start thinking, I wonder what their process is like. How do they decide where they're going to park their car and how much mail to carry? And the our substitute mail carrier like delivered packages at the same time as the letters, and
Instead of
like
going
primary does the
back, right?
packages first. Yeah. So it just got me thinking about that. And I feel if you feel like you have no space to just sit and think or do something different than what you're doing 8 to 12 hours a day, you don't have the opportunity to consider there's something beyond your worldview, or maybe there's a better way to do your job based on how you see other people do their jobs.
And so many times people go into business for themselves to either create more money and or create more freedom. And then they
Mhm.
create a cage that gives them neither of those things.
Yes. Yes.
And it's brutal because it's frustrating and it sounds so counterintuitive that if I say to you, if you tell me things aren't working, my first response to people is, what can you stop doing? And most people think you need to add things. No, if you're not getting the results that you want in your business, my first challenge to people is go cut out half of what you're doing.
Mhm. I'm a huge baseball fan, right? And this
Also
is
genetically obligated Italian.
also genetically obligated, right? Also, like the way I just said huge, like that's I didn't realize I was saying that word wrong until my friend was like, "Oh, huge? Is your humidor huge?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He's not making fun of you, and I'm like, "How?" He's, "You're not saying the H. It's huge." And I'm like, "I don't know." So anyway, I'm a huge baseball fan, and this is like one of the things they talk about with like rookies or slumping veterans when they're at the plate. They're always saying they're trying to do too much at the plate. They got to tighten up their swing or simplify it. Just put the ball in play.
Go
If
back
you're,
to the foundation, right? Go back to the
yeah,
basics.
but if you're always trying to crush the ball, then and you're not focusing on the fundamentals, and you're doing too much, then you're going to strike out or fly out. Like you're not going to have a productive at bat.
And there's a flip side to this, and I know it's part of your personal story, and it's a part of all of ours, where mine to a lesser degree because I didn't have kids involved, but other things have happened where things happen. If we've learned nothing from the pandemic, it's that something will always happen. I
Yes.
think we're all pretty solid on the something bad will always happen. We're all on the train. But if you are so tightly packed and everything is dependent on doing so much work, when, not if, when something happens, you're screwed.
Yeah. If you have no margin, then
There's no
it's
margin for
all gonna fall apart. I've had friends who said I had a friend who needed an emergency C-section, and she is like in the hospital, like texting her clients, "Sorry, I can't meet," or "I might be able to meet," and I'm like, and luckily their partner stepped in and was like, Stop,
stuff.
like you're about to go under the knife." But it's easy to build in our mind like that we can't stop and we can't need to keep doing this work because the more work we do, the more money we'll make. But
It's not how that actually works.
no, and like in software engineering, there's this article called it might be a book, The Mythical Man Month, where this idea of throwing more at it means we'll solve the problem faster. When actually there's diminishing returns, right? So like software companies used to say, "Oh, we'll just put more programmers on it and finish it faster." But at some point, more programmers slowed down the project
Yeah.
because too many cooks or not enough communication or whatever it is. And like you said, doing less will help accelerate your business. And like I'm like living
Right.
proof of that.
Because especially when you're forced to do less, and I think too many of us wait until we're forced, right? Whether it's all of a sudden you have a house full of kids that need to be Zoom schooled because of a pandemic,
Right.
or in my case, I'm on the other side of it. I have aging parents that evidently I have to travel around the country taking people to doctors now. That's what and now I have to do research because don't even get me started on
Yeah.
needing a medical degree because you can't trust anybody you're reading their stuff, right? If I didn't have the space in my life, in my business to do it, I could lose my business because of that. And I think, isn't it a shame that we wait until the disaster to be able to look at our business and realize, like, how much wasted time have I done in the last year with stuff that I don't have time to do now, but things are going better?
And my hand was forced, right? It was during the pandemic. This is video, so I'm just gonna point out that I love
Mhm.
your mug, your Punisher mug.
Oh, my favorite, the thing that's so weird. So I have I'm surrounded by my uplifting art and
Yeah.
my Punisher. That's really all you need to understand. That's it in a nutshell.
That's fantastic. I couldn't let it slide. And if it was audio only, I would have, but I'm
Yeah,
like, this is
so I
video.
am uplifting artwork in nature and a little bit of a Punisher mug. So yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. It was just like, yeah, it was unexpected, right? Like it was a strong pattern interrupt. But yeah, my hand was forced because I was doing this. I was like trying to switch from web development to podcasting and change my niche. And we just had our second child. And we were expecting no, we just had our second child. And my wife's a nurse, and it's November 2020. Like
Mm,
pandemic is in full swing. And I had my first and only ever panic attack.
how could you
And
not?
right. And I just remember being so stressed and like sitting down in my kitchen and like crying. And my daughter, who's 3 years old at the time, comes up to me with a towel and a bottle of water and says, "It's okay, daddy. Everything's going to be okay." And
Brutal.
it is brutal. And I was like, this is not fair. Like, she shouldn't be taking care of me. And I made a promise, like, I'm not going to let this happen again. And the next week, I started looking for a VA, and I dedicated all of my extra time to looking at all of my processes and automating even more than I had been doing. And so, like, about a year later, because we're good Catholics, we had our third child. And
Again, genetically required.
yes, we had our third child, and I took the whole month. Our youngest was born on Christmas Eve.
Oh,
And so I took all of January off to spend time with my family, and no panic attacks, no stress, nothing fell off the rails.
Yeah.
Everything went great.
That's why we do this, right? We do this for the freedom to be able to live life on our own terms and whatever that means for you.
Yeah.
And this is why one of the things that I say, my approach to everything I do and all the products and services I create is I work at the intersection where what you need to do meets who you need to be to do it.
Mm.
Because the plan doesn't matter if you can't do the plan. And my brutal awareness awakening was coming to realize working harder wasn't going to do anything, that it was all how I was thinking. Scarier work will get you so much further than more work.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love that. That should be on a mug, right?
I'm going to punish it. It's not more work. It's scarier work.
That's how you grow, right?
That's
That's how you evolve.
right. And going back, working 15 hours a day just to get tasks done has no growth. There's no growth in there.
And this is a lesson that, I mean, at least I have to like constantly learn and remind myself of. Like, maybe it was last year, I was like, oh, I'm gonna have a whole social media strategy. And then I was spending time posting on social media, telling myself, like, oh, like it'll catch eventually. And then I'm like, this is dumb. Like, I'm gonna make useful content and that will catch eventually. Why am I putting all these hours into like
Well, and I
threads on Twitter?
exactly. And it's an art, it's not a science. And I call it putting bumpers in my gutters between I want to try new things, but I will not do things, and this could be an age thing or just a Gen X thing. I won't do things I don't like doing. Or maybe it's just an Erin problem. I won't do things this is not new. I won't do things I don't like doing. And if I don't like doing them, I will suck at them. And what is the point of dialing it in?
Yeah.
There's no outcome there, right? So, like you, I'm not great at Facebook. I'm not great at LinkedIn. I do telling stories. I love talking to people. And so I had to make a bunch of mistakes and sign on for a bunch of programs that tried to convince me I had to post a million things. And you know what I'm really good at? A 15-minute YouTube video
Mm-hmm.
where I can just tell a story.
Yeah.
So you got to test things. You got to be consistent. But I really believe you got to find what it doesn't matter. There's no right answer. The right answer is the version that works for you and speaks to your strengths.
And people can tell if you're phoning it in. Okay, Bruce Willis, when he was on Friends because he lost a bet with Matthew Perry on the set of The
Remember
Whole
that.
Nine Yards.
Yes.
I know this is very like we're both showing our age here a little bit, right? Like, but there were times where like you could tell he didn't really want to be there. He was
It was just being him, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Right. He wasn't really
He wasn't even
acting. He was
trying.
just being
Right.
Bruce, right? Like he lost a bet and he was there and he was honoring the bet. And like you can tell, right? People can tell. And so like when I post on social media, like I'm not my most popular post on social media on Twitter was me saying, this week I read 112 books. Here's how I did it. And it was just like nothing else. Like I was making fun of a thread. And I'm like, this is my most popular thing. It's not helpful. It's making fun of other people.
And my most popular stuff is forget all the curated content. When I share pictures of me at the wildlife rescue in mismatched clothes, covered in dirt, and the possum's chasing me, or the squirrel jumped on me, or I got bit by something again, that's what, right? When I used to release the baby ducks every morning and I would show them rush to the pond, that it's the real. People want to see the real you. So however you can show up and wherever you can show up. That's why it's scarier work. Going back to this idea of working too much, when I still had jobs, I was a manager of apartment complexes, which makes me laugh now because I was like 27. I was 27 years old and somebody put me in charge of their like multi-million-dollar asset, right? What were these people thinking? But the woman who was the assistant manager used to work like 12 hours a day. And I realized she's hiding from her family. She's not working, right? What if you're not it's scarier work, not more work. If you're doing a million things, you're hiding from the scary thing that would actually propel you forward.
Yeah. Yes. And this is like the the reason that we're both in business is because we don't like doing things that we don't want to do, right? I would my managers, the ones who wanted to prove their authority
Yeah,
versus like getting good work,
yeah,
hated me.
hated me.
Because I would be like, why? Like I had a project manager at my last job that put a meeting. I had paid paternity leave, which is like super rare. So like kudos to that company. But I had a project manager put a meeting on my calendar for a week before I was supposed to come back. And I was like, hey, I'm still on paternity. And she's, oh, I know, but like this other person's going on vacation and you guys need to talk. And I was like, oh, I think you misunderstood me. I don't exist
As far as your
until
company is concerned.
April 7th. Like I don't exist until that day. And she's, but what if you guys need to talk? And I'm like, interestingly, we have this thing called Slack and this other thing called email.
That I will answer on April 8th.
Yeah, because I don't exist. And she like never liked me after that. But I was like, hey, I'm not gonna, and that was my first child. I'm not gonna miss time with my first child for a meeting that doesn't really need to happen. Or like I was told one time, this is when I knew it was time to quit because for our year anniversary, we had tickets to Hamilton.
Oh, cool.
And another project manager was like, hey, if you want to get paid on time, you need to work this weekend. And I was like, I said, first of all, that's not like the social contract that we have because I'm not a freelancer. I'm on a payroll. And also, I guess I'm not getting paid on time because I got tickets to Hamilton and I'm celebrating my anniversary. And that's more important.
So, okay, so if you take this idea and bring it into your business, and I think that's one of the things you can add to your clients, right? Is not just I know what steps to take to do the thing, but, and I worry about saying this because I don't want anyone to think that I believe there's not hard work to do. There is
Right.
work to do. This is not build it and they will come. This is not dream it and vision it and it just shows up.
It's not passive income, right? It's
No,
like,
yeah, that's hysterical to me.
yeah.
Passive income.
Yeah, cool.
Great.
You're Warren Buffett. That's
And he will be the first one to tell you there's nothing passive about his
yeah.
He is so on top of his details. He might not be digging ditches, but there is nothing passive about
Yeah, right.
Please. There's work to do, but overworking. Work ethic is not overworking. There's no badge of honor that gets you more by taking more time to make it harder. And I think here in the Midwest with our hard work ethic, it takes longer to unlearn that.
Mm-hmm.
And the faster you can let go of it, the more amazing that things can happen.
Yeah. Yeah, it's work ethic is not about
Hours.
yeah. Just like school is not about busy work, right? Like if you're getting busy work in school, then school is not being done the right way.
Hence me not really going. In hindsight, we can see the pattern, right?
Yeah, exactly.
In hindsight, we can see the pattern.
Yeah, this is why I was like, my therapist was like, do you have a problem with authority? And I'm like, only insofar as there's arbitrary and capricious rules. That's what I have a problem with.
I have a problem with stupid things.
Yeah, exactly.
I have no problem with people. I have a problem with doing stupid things that don't make sense. Yeah. So I give, the dare, the challenge, the invitation I give to my clients, and I try to remember to do it myself. If you take away nothing from this conversation, we were saying it before, take a blowtorch to your to-do list.
Mhm.
What would happen? What would be possible? What would happen if you could only do 25, 30% of what was already on your list? And that was all you got to do quantity wise.
Yeah. I tell this to all of my clients, right? They hire me for their podcast because they spend too much time and they're not growing. And I say, all right, let's make a list of everything you do. And now put a checkbox next to everything that you personally need to do.
And now get a little more realistic about your ego.
Right. Yeah. Oh, I need to publish it. Why do you need to publish it exactly? This is a tool, like if you're publishing through a host or a WordPress site, like this is something that millions of people do. What's special about you
You
doing it?
pressing the button.
Yeah. Oh,
Totally.
I need to gather the show notes because I know that no, you can just check the work of your assistant.
I don't even do that.
Me neither. Like, I mean, like,
Because here's one, I trust her, but two, too many people trap themselves by acting like everything is the end of the world.
right.
To me, I consider a mistake in our show notes, a typo in our new, I consider when that happens a gift. It is a gift to the people who are waiting to prove how smart they are by telling you made a mistake.
And
So
you
it's
know
a
what?
gift to those people.
And if someone reaches out and tells you about the mistake,
You say
if
thank you.
you say thank you, and it shows that people are actually paying attention to what you're doing. If there's a mistake and no one's telling you, then maybe it's like, oh, maybe no one cares. But
Maybe
like,
nobody.
yeah, but you know what? When I get a typo in a blog post or like a link that's wrong or it goes nowhere, I'm like, hey, thanks for consuming the content I made.
Exactly. So if people want to continue the conversation and see how you can help them do so much less work and get so much more results, seriously, that's the key. That is so the key. What's the best way for them to find you?
They can go to podcastworkflows.com/Erin, Erin. I've been told that I say Erin the wrong way. It's like Aaron is, I guess, how a lot of people say it.
I have a total Chicago accent.
Yeah. But anyway, podcastworkflows.com/Erin. There you will get my 40 plus automation database, like templates.
Nice.
So that even if you never implement any of those, you will see a list of 40 ideas for things that you don't personally have to do. And then there will also be ways to connect with me on social media over there as
Love it.
well.
Love it. And we'll make sure the link is in the show notes so you're just a click away.
Excellent.
Thank you for hanging out with me and having fun conversations. I like this stuff is so important, but we don't have to be miserable about it. I laugh
Yeah.
at myself all the time because why wouldn't I? So yeah, thank you for all your insights and for hanging out with me.
My absolute pleasure. Thanks so much for having me.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Ready Yet podcast. I truly enjoy bringing these stories of success and inspiration to you. Please join us in our mission to empower entrepreneurs to be in charge of their businesses and in charge of their lives by sharing this with anyone you know who would benefit from our tactical and motivating advice, leaving us a review, and letting us know if there are any particular topics you would really appreciate hearing about. See you next time.